What are we doing to stop American weapons going to Mexico to arm their gangs?
Well, we need to support that on both sides.
Well, what are you
in and
doing?
out of the
What are you
country.
doing to support it on our side?
We are arresting people who have illegal firearms in our country. We're not sending people back to Mexico with guns. We're throwing them in our jails and
No,
prosecuting them.
you're allowing them to be purchased in the United States and driven across the border. Most of these gangs have completely turned themselves into military organizations because they're using American weapons, American technology, and your argument is that, well, we're not doing anything about them.
No, not my argument. That was a policy of the last 4 years of the Biden administration with open borders. You could come back and forth across our borders. You could buy guns. You could take guns off the street. You could shoot people in our country. You could bring fentanyl into our country. You could bring methamphetamine into our country. You could bring cocaine into our country. That was the previous administration.
No.
Not this
What
one.
are you doing to stop the flow of weapons into Mexico?
Madam Attorney General, on May 16th, the Department of Justice announced that it dropped litigation to enforce the law against forced reset triggers. These are devices that can be installed in a few minutes on guns like a AR-15 in order to match the rate of fire of a machine gun. In fact, according to demonstrations on YouTube and elsewhere, you can dispose of an entire 30-round magazine in about 4 seconds. So it is a fully automatic weapon. In the press release announcing the settlement, you are quoted as saying the settlement, quote, will enhance public safety. How does putting more automatic weapons, which have been against the law since the 1930s, enhance public safety?
Thank you for that question, Senator Reid. What that will do, it will enhance public safety by settling the litigation because it is a guarantee that the manufacturer will not put that in handguns. We settled those cases because it was the right decision under the law. Nothing's comical about this. These devices are materially the same as bump stocks. The Supreme Court said last year that they are not machine guns under federal law. We followed the law. We will continue to follow the law. I'm a career prosecutor. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep Americans safe. What we should be concerned about up here are all the illegal guns flowing into our country by illegal aliens who have been free to walk into our country over the past 4 years. And we've taken thousands of those guns off of the street, including drugs,
How can
and
you go
including
ahead?
violent criminals.
Excuse me. How can you go ahead and say we're more safe today because they will not put these automatic firing devices and pistols, which have magazines of about maybe 20 rounds at most, or maybe 10, and have a range much less than an automatic weapon? Have you ever fired an automatic weapon?
I have.
Well, you understand then that that's a device that was designed to kill people. It's not a hunting rifle. It's not a target rifle. It's mass fire. And you made a compromise saying, well, don't put them in pistols, but you can go ahead and put them out in automatic weapons.
We followed the law. We will continue to follow the law. You and I clearly disagree on the Second Amendment.
Well, I agree that machine guns are not appropriate in the United States, and since 1930 or so, we've outlawed machine guns. And these semi-automatic weapons that are produced in volume are so easily converted to automatic weapons that it's you're ignoring the reality, frankly.
I'm following the law, Senator.
Well, yes, that's right. By the way, how many American weapons are going to Mexico in a year? What are we doing to stop American weapons going to Mexico to arm their gangs?
Well, we need to support that on both sides.
Well, what are you
in
doing?
and out of the
What are you
country.
doing to support it on our side?
We are arresting people who have illegal firearms in our country. We're not sending people back to Mexico with guns. We're throwing them in our jails and
No,
prosecuting them.
you're allowing them to be purchased in the United States and driven across the border. Most of these gangs have completely turn themselves into military organizations because they're using American weapons, American technology, and your argument is that, well, we're not doing anything about then.
No, not my argument. That was a policy of the last 4 years of the Biden administration with open borders. You could come back and forth across our borders. You could buy guns. You could take guns off the street. You could shoot people in our country. You could bring fentanyl into our country. You could bring methamphetamine into our country. You could bring cocaine into our country. That was the previous administration.
No.
Not this
What
one.
are you doing to stop the flow of weapons into Mexico?
We are arresting flow of weapons into. Our borders are closed. We are arresting illegal cartels. Sinaloa from Mexico, MS-13 from El Salvador, TDA. We are arresting from Venezuela. ATF has seized over 14,600 guns since Donald Trump has been president. That's a 33% increase from the last administration. And think about that. That's with our borders secure.
Were they coming into?
So they weren't doing anything.
Were they coming into the United States?
Our borders are closed. They're not coming in or out of the United States now across Mexico. We've done a 33% increase in firearm seizures. Think about that. Think about that, Senator, from the last administration. 33% increase. And our borders are closed. So we're getting all these guns off the streets that came into our country. And I'm so proud of the work of the men and women in law enforcement.
I don't think you've done anything to severely interrupt the arming of Mexican gangs. Because that's really not what your focus, and I think your focus should be on that. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And can I just add one thing? And
no,
because the borders are closed, we are stopping the guns from going to Mexico.
Well, let me ask you another question. If the borders are closed, why do we have a division headquarters of the United States Army in Fort Huachuca and military elements across the board when the borders close and Border Patrol can handle it?
As former military, I would think you would know the answer to that, to keep Americans safe.
No, I think it's to promote the president's policies on the border, and the readiness of our forces is suffering as a result. Thank you.
Senator Britt.
Let's be honest, this wasn't legal compliance. It was a national security failure dressed up as law and order. Senator Jack Reed didn't show up to play politics. He came armed with facts, military experience, and a blunt challenge to Attorney General Pam Bondi's priorities. His question was simple. How does putting more machine gun-style weapons on American streets make us safer? Bondi's answer? A legal technicality. She claimed it was about following the law and even insisted it would enhance public safety. Reed didn't buy it, and neither should we. These forced reset triggers can dump 30 rounds in under 4 seconds. They're built to mimic automatic fire, the same type of weapon banned since the 1930s for a reason. But instead of fighting to keep them off the streets, the DOJ under Bondi cut a deal. Allow the devices in rifles like AR-15s as long as they're not used in handguns. As if mass shootings are somehow more acceptable if they're committed with rifles instead of pistols. Reed, a veteran who has actually fired an automatic weapon, called it what it is. These are not hunting rifles. These are not target guns. These are mass-killing tools. That's when Bondi tried to pivot. Suddenly, the real threat wasn't U.S. gun manufacturers rearming America with battlefield weapons. It was illegal aliens bringing in drugs. Reed wasn't having it. The truth is, American-made guns are fueling violence both here and abroad. Mexican cartels like Sinaloa and CJNG are arming themselves with weapons bought legally in the U.S. The United States has become a major supplier of military-grade firepower for organized crime. Instead of owning that, Bondi rattled off border arrest stats and talked about closed borders, ignoring the U.S. gun shops and loopholes that traffickers exploit every day. Reed cut through the spin again. What are you doing to stop the flow of American weapons into Mexico? Her answer? Vague numbers, a boast about ATF seizures, reactive measures, not prevention. Then came Reed's final hit. If the border is closed, why does the U.S. Army still have a full division at Fort Huachuca and units deployed to the border? Bondi dodged again, because this isn't about readiness. It's about political theater, a staged image of control that crumbles under scrutiny. Here's the reality. Bondi dropped enforcement on machine gun-like devices, shifted blame to immigrants, and dodged every question about American guns arming cartels. Reid didn't let her off the hook. You're ignoring reality. And that reality is simple. This DOJ is making America more dangerous and less honest about why. If you're done with political blame games replacing real solutions, stick with us. We break down every hearing, follow the facts, and call out the spin, no matter who's in power. Support us on Patreon if you believe journalism should be fearless, informed, and unapologetic.